so now I have my paper prepared, so you can kind of see my 9 by 9 inch square here. It's broken down the center. It's broken down that way. I might use these vertical and horizontal lines as a reference to help me with the composition when I cite angles, because if you look there, the tops of the apples are actually on a diagonal right there. So that's where citing comes in with something organic like this. But I have my paper prepared. I have my subject matter. You're gonna use apples. Apples are a really simple form in terms of the shape of them. You don't have to worry too much about the drawing aspect. We can really just focus on applying value. And that's the whole point of this project, is to really think about applying value and building value up slowly, little by little. So we have these pencils here. And this is, I want you to, at the end of this project, I really want you to be proficient with all these pencils, knowing which one does what, and when you can go back to something or go forward with another pencil. You'll know them well. Instead of just saying, I don't know what these pencils are for. They came with my art kit, and there's some that are soft, some are hard. I don't know, it's an art thing. I want you to know these well, just like a good craftsman knows his tools, or her tools well. So, first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna establish your composition. Just don't jump into this cold. You do all this preparation. You're gonna work on this for a while. Just don't start drawing and hope for the best. Cross your fingers and hope that composition works out. You wanna work out the composition first. So you're gonna start off with a square. I've in a sketch. And I've seen some sketches in the past. Some of you are working with a different format compared to your paper. Some of you are just kind of drawing on the whole thing. You want to frame out what you're going to be doing, because I'm challenged here. You want to give yourself the same challenge here. So when you transfer this onto there, it's going to be a lot easier. So from my point of view, I'm just going to do a quick little sketch. I'm noticing some things here. There's these shadows down here. And because my viewpoint's a little bit down more than the camera that you see there, these shadows play a role. This shadow comes all the way out to here. And if I measure the shadow from the bottom of the apple to the bottom of the shadow, it's kind of like half the size of the apple. It's a good amount of real estate, so that should be a major part of the drawing. Shadows are a major part of the drawing. So the bottoms of the apples, I think I'm gonna have about like right here or so. That's what I'm saying, like the bottoms of the apples could be about right there. So if I were to just kind of quickly, generically throw in some circles here, something like this, and then the shadows will be here, and the shadows will be here, and the shadows will be here. That could be my composition. But I don't like how it crops it off just a smidge. I think I want more of a cropping to happen. So these feel like they're kind of not smashed within the composition, but the composition is just kind of focusing on the center point. I don't want the center of the drawing, which is right here, to be the center of the apples. I want that to be off center a little bit. So how am I going to go about this? If this is the center, and if you can see here, I'm kind of curling this around. And then the other apple, maybe this is a little lower, like down here. And the other apple that's about right here, it's gonna go up, is behind it just a hair. And this apple's in front. So I'm trying to crop these off to where they're not, what I don't want is a line here, right? And the edge of the apple to touch that line like that. You do not want that. That's going to create too much tension, visual tension. You want the border to crop it off, clearly cropping it off at a certain point. So possibly I'll go with this, or I move it over to the left a little bit more. So right now I can kind of throw my shadows in, just get a kind of sense of how big they are. Shadows are going to be down here somewhere. I'm just kind of throwing this in. Just something really quick, right? That could be the idea of the composition. I'm gonna do a quick small sketch, like super small, right here. And just to say, what if I reverse these? What if I put this one bigger on the other side? And then this one gets cropped. More. And then there's a shadow and a shadow. So that would be that one. Which one do I like more? I think I'm leaning towards my original. I'm gonna go with that guy. That being said, how do I transfer this onto there? So if this is my center line right here, and that's my center line right here, I definitely want the right side of that apple. I'm gonna turn these just a little bit because I kind of want them to overlap from my point of view. From your point of view, they're overlapping more. I want them to overlap. So I'm going to put this apple right here, and then the other apple should go behind it. It should go like right here, and then this apple is going to go here. And again, I'm roughing this in. You might say like, wait, what about the site and measurement and all that stuff? I need to establish where these things are going to live on the paper, and then I can think about sighting and measuring and all that stuff. So now I'm going to put it here. This would go here. Let me see if I got my angles correct in terms of like right here. That seems about right. I don't have this right. If this apple kind of does one of these things, this apple's going to do one of these things. And there you go. So, is this, if you can kind of see my rough drawing here, is this where I want these to live? Now I can put my drawing away because I kind of have it figured out. My shadows are so much bigger down there. What if I move this up just a little bit, like to right here? I think that's going to be better. So I'm just going to move this up. And I'm drawing lightly because remember, you're going to apply value here, so you don't want to press hard on the paper. It's just going to incise the paper. And I'll just go a little lighter here. Okay. So I have like the roughing, the sketchy kind of roughing here of where I want these things to live on my drawing. Eventually, you know, there's going to be a little thingy here, there's going to be a little thingy here, but the shadows really play a role. There's a lot of shadow work down here that's really beautiful from the multiple light sources I have. There's actually 1, 2, 3 shadows overlapping with like 4 different values. It's beautiful. So there's a shadow here, there's a shadow here, that kind of goes there. I think that's going to work for me. I'm happy with that, I believe. If anything, I can lower it down just a hair, like to here. Okay, now I'm going to sight and measure. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the scale of that first apple on the left-hand side. So I'm measuring its width and I'm measuring its height, and it's basically equal in size. If that's the case, I'm going to take my straight edge of some sort, go from here, and then just double check that it goes outside. It doesn't go outside. So I might have to make this thing a little bit longer. In terms of this way, so keep up here and keep down here. And then this one here, I'm going to measure. And that is a little bit wider than it is high. And I'm going to keep this about right here and right there. I think I'm just going to keep that where it is. Now, what I always like to do is just throw in, give me a second. Throw in my rectangles. So I'm going to have a rectangle here, which is the top of this apple. I'm going to have the side of the apple right here. Okay. And the exterior, and I believe I said that the apple was equal in width and height. Actually, it's wider than it is high, which is good. It's wider than it is high. So it's not a square, it's just a little bit wider than it is high. I'm going outside of my frame here because I want to draw the apple as a whole rectangle first, and then I'll erase that after the fact. And then I'm putting this here. So I will use a darker pencil just so you can see me at home, and eventually I will erase this, but I think I'll just use a B if I can find it. There it is. Used it so much, it's tiny right now. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. Now, I'm going to erase the apple itself, because remember I just sketched that in just to get a sense. And then this guy is going to help me draw the other one. So the other rectangle, the other apple, from my point of view, is a little lower. As you can see, that apple there is lower than that apple there. It's lower, so I'm going to go down, use my tricks that I learned in the previous project, and it goes into the apple about that much. So if I drew a line straight across, hey, it looks pretty good in terms of where I wanted it to be in the first place. Okay, so I put that line in. I'm going to use my other pencil because it's darker and you can see what I'm doing. From my point of view, it overlaps the apple just a little bit, and I would say it probably overlaps the apple right on the center point, which is what I didn't want to happen, but it's too late now. I'm going to have to go with it. Okay, so the center line is actually the overlapping part. It might be over to the left of that center, actually, from my point of view. Yeah, it's not that much. I'd say it's to the right of center. I feel better about that. Now the bottom part is about this much lower. If I take my ruler, I put it right here at the bottom, I run a line across. It looks like there's about that much distance between the bottom of the apple and the ruler. So I run this across. Now I have my height, I can figure out my width because I can kind of measure this, I can measure this and compare its height and width. And right now it looks like its height is a little shorter than the width, but just a hair shorter. So if this is the height, use my finger to mark it. And I said it was a little shorter than the width, like that much shorter. So that's an equal square here. And I just went in a little bit from there. And now I'm gonna make a vertical line. All right, I have my apples. They're going to be cropped off from the side. Oh my God. Never drop one of these on the floor. I can't ever pick it up. I have my rectangles. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase all these lines that I don't need. They're kind of just driving me nuts right now. So I don't need those lines. I need my frame, but I don't need the center line anymore. I don't need the organic lines that I used as a sketch. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in the apples. First thing is there's a central access line right there. I'm looking at this guy. There's a central access line. I showed you how to draw an avocado, I think, at one point, but I'm going to do the same thing here. So there's a central access line through the apple on the left, and it's kind of a diagonal like this. This is the diagonal of the access line, central access line. It's like that, and I'm just going to double check to see if that's right. Yep, looks good to me. Now the center, I'm measuring from the edge of the apple to the center of the apple and just making sure that that's the center of the apple itself, which it's not. It's over to the right. I could probably get away with moving it over just a little bit. That center point of the apple is probably going to be, well, I'm not sure yet, but the high point is right here. That's the high point of that apple, way in the back, right there. That, I'm going to say, is about right here. I can measure the side. Counts 2.5 times. Let's just see how many times this counts. 1, 2. Looks good to me. So that's that point here. I'm going to find the point that's right here on the side, which is right here. Actually, I'm going to pause this right now.